Hey gang, welcome back to another video. The weather's finally starting to warm up here in Los Angeles, which can only mean one thing. It's time to start working on Halloween projects. So join me for this Halloween how-to as I turn insulation foam into realistic tombstones, perfect for your yard display or haunted house.
The first step for any tombstone is figuring out the epitaph. This one was provided to me along with an inspiration photo, so I've just got to figure out how I want the text laid out. I like using Adobe Illustrator for this, but you could use any word processor app. Once I've got my layout finished, I'll export it to my vinyl cutter software to create a stencil. This is the method that I like to use because it's a lot faster and I'm always looking for efficiencies. But you could also print out your epitaph on paper and make your own stencil. Or skip the stencil altogether and use your printout to trace your epitaph onto the foam. Once my stencil vinyl is applied, I can get to painting my stencil. I'll be using spray paint, which is typically a bad idea since the solvents will melt the foam. But if you paint from a distance and in very light passes, the solvents will evaporate before the paint hits the foam, and you can use it to transfer your design. With my epitaph painted, I can get to carving out my design. And for this, I'll be using a rotary tool and my carving base. This base plate is something I made for myself a few years back. I found that it's extremely helpful in keeping the rotary tool perpendicular to the foam by stabilizing it as you slide it across the surface. Plus, the adjustable collar helps to guarantee consistent carving depth. Once my epitaph is carved, I'll grab some 120 grit sandpaper to knock down any rough edges left behind by the rotary tool, and then I can move on to sketching out the top arch. The reference photo I was given had an arch along the top, so I'll be fabricating one from a scrap of 1-inch foam, and once I finalize the design, I can use a hot wire tool to cut it out. I like using this hot wire table for as many foam projects as I can because it's less of a mess than using a jigsaw or a handsaw. It also allows me to get into tight corners that would be a bit more challenging with other methods. When I've got my shape roughed out, I'll grab my palm sander with 60 grit sandpaper and we'll start to refine the piece until I've got the shape I'm after. And I'll use my rasp on any areas where I need to remove a bit more material. Now that I've got my arch squared away, I'll grab some glue and we'll get to attaching it and can set it aside to dry. Because my epitaph is so big, I'll need to add foam along the bottom to have mounting points for the base pieces. So I cut a few chunks of 2-inch foam and we'll glue it to the bottom using a few skewers to help keep things in place while it dries. Once the glue was dry, I could get to adding on the base foam pieces. I marked the center on both pieces to help with alignment, and then placed a few weights on the foam to keep everything in place while the glue set up. I repeated this step for the back and sides, and the following day I could trim off the excess foam and blend all the seams with my palm sander. This 60 grit paper really cuts through the foam and makes quick time of this step. One of my favorite tricks to making foam tombstones look more realistic is to add decorative profiles to elements of the prop. In this case, I'm using my palm router with a roundover bit to give the base a bit more visual interest. The downside is that this can be very messy, but it's totally worth it. When I've routed my design all the way around the base, I'll switch over to a piece of sandpaper to clean up any uneven edges. The next thing I want to do is add some cracks. So I'll grab my razor blade and we'll draw out a few lines at 45 degrees to the surface of the foam. And then I'll flip the blade to the opposite 45-degree angle and we'll carve out a V shape. Then I can use the tip of the blade to pick out the foam and rough up any areas that may look a bit too intentional. I also like to drag the blade along the edges to give it a chipped out look. You can do as much or as little of this as you like. although I like to err on the side of less is more. It's also worth considering the date of the epitaph and how a tombstone of that age might look. Because this one is supposed to be from 1691, I figured I could be a bit more aggressive with the aging. Next up, I'm going to add some texture to the tombstone with a bit of water and a propane torch. For this effect, you want to create as many small water droplets as possible on the face of the tombstone. These droplets will protect the foam underneath them from the heat. The dry areas will slightly melt as you pass over them with the torch, which creates the texture. This is definitely something you'll want to get a feel for before doing it on your nearly finished props. But it's a total game changer in how the foam looks, especially once you get to painting and weathering. Before I can get to that, I like to fill all of the seams with paintable caulk. This helps to make everything look like a solid piece and prevents any unwanted moisture from collecting between the pieces of foam. Now that everything has had a chance to dry, I can get to painting. I had this can of masonry sealer, but it's white, and that's not going to work for this project. But thankfully, it's latex-based, so I can use acrylic paints to tint it. I'll add a bit of brown and black acrylic paint to the can, and we'll mix the paint until the color is consistent, and then I can apply it to the foam. Whenever I paint tombstones with masonry sealer, I like to go heavy around the areas where there's no carvings and light in the areas where there are. That way I'm not filling in the epitaph with paint, which will then make them harder to read. I also like to use a pouncing motion to keep from leaving brush strokes. It's probably not something that people would notice from 10 feet away, but I'm that guy who likes to overthink the small details, so take it with a grain of salt. I'll give the entire tombstone 2 coats of paint and then I'll set it aside to dry. Before I get into the weathering stage of the build, I need to fill in the epitaph, and for that I'll be using a bit of science in the form of capillary action. Essentially, I'll be wetting down the epitaph and then dipping my paintbrush into the letters, which will cause the paint to flow into all of the recesses. Any paint that makes its way outside of the letters can be blotted away with a rag. This method doesn't completely black out the letters, but it does create a more natural aged look, which helps to sell the overall effect of an old tombstone. Once I've filled in all of my design, I'll fill in the crack and add a few dark spots around the face of the tombstone with the black paint I used for the lettering. This will help to give the weathering a bit more dimension. And speaking of weathering, now that my epitaph is dry, I can mix up my acrylic paint wash and get to spraying. If it's hot outside, you'll want to start by wetting down your tombstone with water to help the paint mixture spread and flow more evenly. This will also help to keep it from drying out too quickly. This wash is roughly 1 part brown acrylic, 1 part green acrylic, and 10 to 15 parts water, and it will get applied to the entire tombstone. Any areas where the wash is too heavy or isn't running down the face of the tombstone will get a quick spray of water to help it along. While I waited for the first pass to dry, I added a bit more black paint to my wash to darken it up, and once the tombstone was dry, I applied another layer of my paint wash to build up to my final look.
Now this tombstone will be heading off to a subscriber's haunt, but hopefully these steps will inspire you to create some of your own tombstones for your Halloween display. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.